Hello and welcome to GroovesMe. This is Mark. I'm going to talk to you today about the Nikon D850. Right there. See it right there. Or maybe the big box. I've already did an unboxing video. Unfortunately, the audio didn't work out, so they're boring anyway. What's in the box? You got a manual. You got the box, some crinkly plastic stuff, cable management thingies, some little, I'm not even sure what that one's for. A USB 3 to USB cable, the warranty card over there, and the D850 strap. So I'll pull this out of the way, get it over there. It's still probably in frame, but that's all right. So what all did I buy with it? Well, I bought the body, the D850 body. I bought a Sony XQD card reader, bloody pricey, 80 bucks. I bought the Sony XQD 64 gigabyte, it says 142 bucks here. I don't know what I paid. I thought it was like 140, 105, 108. Have to double check the receipt now. Then on Amazon Prime Day, I bought a couple of extra. These are RAV Power branded EL15 batteries. The camera itself comes with this gray EL15A battery. Then I have a number of these EL15 batteries. They're black, that come from, I have a D7200 over there that uses those batteries, and so I own several of them. What else did I buy? XQD card. That's about it. That's what I bought. So, what do I think about the Nikon D850? This is an overview, initial impressions type of video. It's awesome. I can't say anything bad about it. I think the video functions work great in the limited amount I've used them, but I don't have any issues with them. The only issue I have actually with the video function is one of those Nikon issues that goes across all the Nikon bodies, and that's that you really can't adjust your aperture while in video mode, at least not with the D series lenses, and I don't believe you can with G's, but the G lenses I have are all for crop sensors. So what else do I think? Well, this is the 35 to 70 2.8D lens. It's a really good lens. I think the Tilty Screen, if you're worried about it, is going to be more than strong enough, because that's a big heavy lens, and as you saw, it doesn't have any issues. I wouldn't swing it around the room on a rope or anything. Use common sense. But if the camera was falling and I had a 600mm f4 or any other large expensive lens, I think that this Tilty Screen is strong enough that it would work to grab it and pull it back, provided it wasn't like at any real rate of speed. But like it starts to fall, you have the Tilty Screen out, you can grab the Tilty Screen if that's what you can get a hold of, and be relatively certain that it's not going to break on you, which is great. That's a really good thing, because all those flippy Tilty Screens, would never trust them with a big lens. Never, never, never. This, I think that this is the only real professional, other than on the D500, which is similar, but the only real professional flippy screen that I've seen. It's great. Let's see, what else? Works really well with old glass. What I've primarily shot with, I've taken some pictures with the 35 to 70. 35 to 70. Most of my pictures have came off of, and almost all the pictures we're going to show here in a minute, have come off of the Tokina ATX Pro 20 to 35 millimeter lens. It's old. It's a screw drive lens. And it's one of those older clutch type ones that, you know, if you're going to go in and out of manual, it's going to be a real pain in the rear. I wouldn't, if you're going to do that, don't buy one of these. They're wonderful lenses. You know, they're supposed to be relatively soft, but from my experience, it's relatively sharp. It seems to do a really good job on this camera body, the D850. This particular lens is sharp. What else have I shot with? I've shot with the 85 1.8 autofocus. I've shot with, that's the 50, right? Yeah, the 50 1.8D lens. I've shot with the 50, here you go. We'll do some glass porn. The 50 1.2 lens. I mean, you probably can see my eyeball right there. It is some beastly glass. The 50 millimeter AIS 1.2, really good lens, works really well. Manual focus is a dream. What else have I shot with? Well, that's it for right now. In the future, you know, like when I can get out of the house more, because right now it's bloody hot in Arizona. I'll shoot with the 80 to 200 D lens. I'll shoot with this 28 millimeter here. I'll probably throw on these guys and just finally figure out which of these is sharper. This is the 85 f2 manual focus AIS lens. Wonderful little lens. I mean, it just here's the 50. Look at that. I mean, it's basically the same size as a 50. Weighs a little more. Metal construction, gorgeous lens. That's the 85 f2, and then this is the 85 1.8. And I'm not certain which of these guys will produce better pictures. They seem to be relatively similar on the 7200, but we're gonna do a real review on the D850. So, well, I left my tablet in the other room, so let me go grab that, and I'll be right back to do the picture review. All right, so I ran out and grabbed my tablet. Let's take a look here. This here is shot on the D850 with the 20 to 35, or correction, this was shot with the 85 millimeter f1.8. This is a little duck at Tempe Town Lake, just sitting out there being all chill. He's probably the most chill duck I've ever seen. Probably wishing it was chill because it was bloody hot. It was like 110 degrees with humidity and just sweltering type heat that day. So he's out there just chilling. Here's a cropped in view, pretty close to 1-to-1. As you can see with the 85 here, really sharp. Colors come out great. This is a neutral profile. It's not been edited in any way other than cropping in to kind of give a 1-to-1 crop. I'm quite impressed. The next picture is my wife, Lois. We're still at Tempe Town Lake, and and again, this is on the 85 1.8 lens. I have nothing to say about this image. It's gorgeous. The soft bokeh, the sharp focus on her. As we can see when we crop in, you know, you can see details in her face. You can see how soft the bokeh is in the background. You can see texture on the like pay binoculars. I don't know what those are called. If you know what those are called, put them in the comments. But you know those pay binoculars, you kind of put a quarter or probably a buck in nowadays. But you know, it used to be when I was a kid they were a quarter. So great image. The color come out great, and you know, old glass. Imagine brand new glass. Pull out the hair. Truck drivers. Truck drivers. So what's happening here? We decided to go up to Sedona, you know, take some more pictures with the D850. And while we were up there, this was, and I forget the name of it. That just sucks. I'm getting too old. Anyway, we're at one of the parks as you're coming into Sedona, and Bell Rock Park or something like that. That's where this is. So they don't have, and if you're in the Sedona, you know, forestry area service, please make proper paths and areas for people to enjoy the scenic views without having to stand in the parking lot. So what happens here is I'm composing an image, and it was going to be the first of a set of images for a panorama, and this truck just drives up and pulls his big huge monster in front of me. And you know, you can see I'm holding a camera and I'm focusing, and so I focus on the truck, take a picture, and move on. I gave him a dirty look kind of thing. He knew what he did was wrong, but they do it anyway. But I don't get people with these monster trucks. I really don't. They are such a waste when there's no fifth wheel in it. There wasn't. I didn't even see a tow hitch or a tow ball on the back of it. It was just a big huge truck. They drive it because they like driving big huge trucks type of thing, you know. And they're such wastes. You're going to drive out to where you're looking at the environment in a monster truck, wasting gas, polluting, and then just being complete jerks and pulling in front. You know, Ford should take the truck back and tell them to go drive a Chevy or something. I don't know. All you Chevy guys are probably out there going, no, don't send them to Chevy. We don't need any more jerks driving Chevys. Actually, I'm not a Ford or a Chevy guy, so it's okay. I'm not bashing on either of them. I'm just joking. So you know, I took the picture. As you can see, it's a wonderful picture of the truck. You know, the bokeh in the background looks awesome, and that was with the, I believe it's the 85 at that point, and I was going to go in with like a more telephoto panorama where you get a little more bokeh in the foreground, and you know, the background's in fairly sharp focus. Here we're in downtown, and so this is going to scatter around. It's not quite chronological. Here we're in downtown. I believe it's called Outlaw Camera Shop in the background, downtown Sedona. And I just saw these flowers and took a picture with the 85. Actually, no. That was taken with the 20 to 35 at 35 and at 2.8. So, just a wonderful picture, you know. I mean, it's not really frame worthy or anything, but it shows a lot of image quality from the D850. It shows, well, the bokeh from the lens. It shows just how when you I might print this one though. The cropped in view where you have the flowers and bokeh in the background, I might print it. It's nice. I like it. The color rendition's great. Micro contrast is good. Okay, so here we're at the Chapel of the Holy Cross, I believe it's called, and we're walking up the big path, and this tree here is towards the top. Well, actually, where I'm at towards the top of the path, and I'm looking down at the tree at this point. So this is with the 20 to 35 on the camera, and you know, here it just looks like a tree. Nothing special for sure. I'm not saying it's a great image, but I thought I'd take a look at, you know, just how much detail you could pull out of an old lens. And so I took a picture of the pine cones, and as you can see, all the pine needles are sharp, the pine cones look great, the tree branches are all awesome, and the sensor and the lens did exceptionally. Here's a picture of Ocotillo that's kind of midway up the hill there, and at the Chapel of the Holy Cross. And as you can see, like I said, it's not really art, but you know, just initial overview impressions of the camera type stuff. A 1:1 crop of it. Again, you can just get so much information out of the sensor. And again, the color and everything is awesome. Here we are at 35 millimeters 2.8 again with the Tokina, and this is Halois. Slight overexposure on her shoulder, but the image, and again, not edited, so I would actually bring down the highlights a bit, which will recover some of that overexposure on her, but also bring the sky back more blue. And then here's, you know, 1:1 on her face. You can see all of her skin, her color on her lips, the her mascara, where somehow her eyelashes touched down there and made marks on the bottom of her eyelid. It's super sharp, and that's with what they consider in the day a softer lens. Obviously this is at the Chapel of the Holy Cross. I focused in on Jesus here, and you know, the image itself is bad. You know, I would never want to shoot something like this, backlit like this. But again, I'm just playing with the camera and trying to see how much you can push the camera. I'm not trying to go out and take the great image of this. But what you're going to see next is going to surprise you. Whoa! You know, that image, considering how horrible the quality of the image is here, you go to the next picture. This wasn't edited beyond I raised the shadows, dropped the highlights. I didn't push exposure any. There was nothing done to the image except raising the shadows and dropping the highlights. Look at how much you can pull out of this sensor. You can see you know, in the original image, you can't see the hills in the background. You can see the hills. You know, the original image, the walls are they're in shadow. You see no texture, you see no detail. Once you've raised the shadows, you have all that texture that was in the walls. My eyes could perceive it, you know, even though it's backlit, I was able to see everything you see here. But the camera, it couldn't see it because of lens and everything. So this is amazing. That, very few cameras can do that. The 7200 might get close. 3300 wouldn't do even close. Yeah, I would say amazing. This is a little water fountain flower bowl thing that's in front of the Chapel of the Holy Cross. Just a nice image. It's a snap. Here I'm playing with the, again, this is on the Tokina 20 to 35. I'm playing with, this is at f8 here, and ISO 64, if I recall. And you know, I'm just seeing what the images look like. Here I've changed the aperture to 2.8, stayed at ISO 64, but increased the shutter speed to accommodate. That's why it's slightly different exposures. but I exposed properly for the flower, and everything else is a little bit darker though. But you can see, you know, the image coming out of this Tokina really looks good, and you know, the D850 is, you just, didn't do a 1-to-1 on this, but every little hair of the cactus is sharp. The little flowers, the inside of the flower where you can see the, what are those, little stamen or something like that? Sharp. They're in shadow. It's amazing what you can get out of this. If you were using it for macro work, the sensor is awesome. Here's a portrait of me with using the camera. Probably 35 and guessing probably around f4. I'd have to go double check on this picture. Another portrait of me, same settings, different angle. Then on our way back home, this is at a road stop on the way back home, and rest area. Just an interesting little sign. It says, poisonous snakes and insects inhabit the area. That's all of Arizona. And then down, let me get down there. Okay, so these last images are just showing again the dynamic range you can pull out of this camera sensor. This is very underexposed. And so I did nothing to it, and then this next shot is a 1-to-1 crop, pulling the exposure positive 3 stops, so bringing in more exposure. All I can say is amazing. It doesn't, there's not much noise going 3 stops. You don't see much noise. You don't see much color banding or any kind of color cast that might have been added by raising the exposure. It just looks like you took the picture and it was exposed properly. Here, it's fairly well exposed, except if you look at her arm, way blown out. And so I thought, you know, I wonder what it will recover out of that blown out area. So here we go. Here you're going to see a little bit of a yellowish color cast. I'm not sure because it doesn't show up on the shirt, just on her skin. But you can see the only area is this part of her arm that's still blown out. You can see her vein. You can see, you know, vascular detail in her skin. 3 stops of overexposure corrected, and you know, the one area is just totally blown out highlights. So I would say 3 stops, maybe 4 is the most you're going to be able to pull back out of overexposure. So always try to slightly underexposure image, because you can raise your shadows for a long way. And you know, those 3 stops, I didn't even try to see how far I can push the shadows, but like I said, initial overview. But it's just amazing. So that's the images that I'm sharing today. In the future, there's going to be a lot more images. So why am I using old glass? Because I shoot film. Nikon F3. Here's a Nikon F100, kind of the modern day version of this camera. Or I mean the vintage version of this camera. And so because I shoot film, I've bought a lot of lenses that work on film cameras. You know, the F3 here can shoot with all of these lenses, no problem. They'll work manual focus on this camera properly. So, what else? We've went over the batteries, went over memory cards. There's dual memory card slots. You got the XQD and the SD slot. The SD is UHS 2, which cost as much as an XQD card, but are fairly similar in speed, so you can mirror to both cards and not really lose a lot of performance. Currently, the way I have it set up is I'm shooting raw to the XQD and small JPEG to the SD card, because I just have a like class 10 card. It's not a very good card. So I would say that's great to do. Battery life is excellent. In fact, this battery still has charge. I'm just going to go charge it. And it shot for well over a month of miscellaneous shooting, and then two full days of shooting, and quite a bit of video on it now, like maybe an hour of video time, maybe 40 minutes, something like that, of video time. I will do a video review of the video features in a future video. This one is already getting long. Let's see what else. Oh, battery life. That battery life included all the time that I was using the camera, SnapBridge was on, including the video. So the camera has awesome battery life. Another feature that I don't know if very many reviews talk about is the it has a I forget what it's called, but anyway, it's cool because if you put a telephoto lens on this and then you do mirror up, you can look at, like for instance, the moon. There's no light leak from your rear eyepiece, and you know, I like shooting telephoto, you know, star stuff from time to time, and we'll probably do a video about that at some point. So, what do I recommend? Buy it. Today is the 21st, is it? No, 22nd. Today's the 22nd, and with tomorrow being the day that Nikon releases their mirrorless announcement, whatever that ends up being, I still say buy it. The video features are awesome. The viewfinder it's huge. It works incredibly well. I like optical viewfinders. I find that all the mirrorless cameras I've looked through, all of the rear screens when using mirrorless, I always want to put a mirror up to my face and look through it. When I'm doing video, I always want to look through the mirror, which you can't do, unfortunately. Maybe Nikon will use their hybrid mirror thing and eventually fix that, but yeah, it's kind of one of those things where it would be awesome to be able to use the mirror to focus in video and live view, because I think it's better. And I haven't seen any camera, the A9, the A7, they are not to the same level as a Pinaprism and mirror viewfinder. They're, I don't know how to say it, they're really grainy. You just don't get that sharp and good optical resolution that you need to manually focus a lens. I know some people will say, well, there's focus peaking, and that works, but I'm not comfortable looking at an EVF personally. And I have better than 20/20 vision, so although it's fading on me, I'm getting old, the eyes are going away, but I still have excellent vision for now, and optical is better. It is a lot better. And my guess is if you're a person who is farsighted, as people get older, their vision starts focusing further and further away, or if you just were born that way, I would say that EVFs are probably terrible, because even with a diopter adjustment, I don't know that I would be comfortable trying to focus on something as close if I was like I said, my vision's already starting to fade, and I'm uncomfortable trying to focus on something real close to my eye now. Even though I can still do it, it's less comfortable to do it. So I think, you know, optical DSLRs still have a life because, you know, until EVFs really become very high resolution, they're just not going to function well for people like me. And even then I would probably be uncomfortable with them because like I said, I like focusing through the lens, and I have excellent vision, and so the mirror and prism work very well for me. Focusing on little dots on a screen, while I can do it at a computer screen and it doesn't bother me, I'd prefer looking out a window than looking at windows. Haha. Yeah, you know, it's a bad joke, I know. That's it. Buy it. Don't worry about, you know, if you see this video 2 days after or whatever it ends up being, because, you know, YouTube, it takes a long time to upload and it all takes a lot of processing before they get it out to the world, really. If you see this video 3 days after, or, you know, the day today, just, if you're looking at this camera and looking at determining whether you want it or the mirrorless, go with the D850. It's an awesome camera. It's complete nonsense that some of these people are positing that Nikon is holding back the D850 sensors to have sensors for the mirrorless camera. No business in their right mind would ever do something so stupid. The reason you can't buy these as easy as you'd want to is because there's such a high demand for them that they can't keep up with production. So don't let those people, they're just talking nonsense. They don't know what they're talking about. No business would, you know, if you can have a cell today and possibly get an upgrade cell tomorrow, you're going to take your cell today and worry about your upgrade cell tomorrow. Oh, well, I had just said and started talking about one last thing, and the battery died on me. Aftermarket batteries, don't buy them. Buy original. You know, buy Nikon original. I mean, it's fine if you get a super screaming deal on them, and yeah, but don't expect them to be any good. They're terrible. The RAV power might be all right. I don't know yet, but we'll see. The eco efficiencies, their warranty sucks because they tell you to mail your cheapy batteries back to them, and the postal service says if it's not in a camera, you can't mail it. So yeah, I wouldn't buy from eco efficiency again. Anyway, back to the last concluding thoughts. Absolutely, the D850 is awesome. Buy it. As far as where to buy it, I have links down there, but I don't really want you guys to click them unless you live somewhere where you can't go to a retail camera store. I would prefer you buying your items at your local store. And while there's a lot of YouTubers that'll scream bloody murder about that because they say, click my links, and if you're out in the boonies, absolutely click. If I made the difference for you to make a purchase decision, click them, please. But I pray that if you're close to a normal camera store, you'll go to it. You'll introduce yourself. You'll shake the people's hands and get to know who they are, what they're doing, why they've stayed in business after all these years, and get to know them. I bought this camera at Tilty Camera. It's a wonderful store. I've done business with them well on over 30 years. Like 35 years-ish, somewhere around there. Yeah. Bought a Canon EOS 100 there many years ago. Bought film. They had them process film back in the day. You know, I'd still take film there to develop, but if they were closer. I might still take some film there, but mostly I've developed my own film now. So buy it at Tempe, or not Tempe Camera, but at your local camera if you can. And if you're in Phoenix, go support Tempe Camera. They're great people. Wilson Camera might be okay. I haven't shopped at Wilson's in over 30 years. No particular reason, just they're in Scottsdale, and you know, I tend to be in Phoenix. While I go to Scottsdale quite often, I just, you know, I actually haven't stopped in at Wilson's. Maybe I will, but you know, there's no reason that I don't shop at Wilson's, so maybe they're okay. But I have a lot of experience with Tempe, so if you're in Phoenix area, I really highly recommend Tempe Camera. Photo Forum down in, you know, Midtown Phoenix is okay. I don't particularly like that they will grab your gear, your camera. If you bring it in, you know, they'll grab it and just take a look at it. And you know, I don't want somebody to grab my stuff unless I gave them permission, and that bothers me. And then there's a couple of employees that were, and I don't know if they're still there or not, but they're just a little bit on the rude side in my opinion. So I don't tend to shop at Photo Forum just because of that. So buy it at your local camera store if you can. I waited an extra 5 months to buy mine at my local camera store. That's why I can say I really suggest you do it, because it's important. Your local camera store will service you into the future. Amazon provides zero service. They have a great return policy in that, you know, you're not going to have any trouble returning something you bought. And that's something, if you have a good relationship with your local camera store, they're not going to have a problem, because, you know, one, you paid with a credit card. There's always purchase protection on every credit card I've ever seen. So if they don't take it back, you tell the credit card company, and the credit card company takes it back and then charges them back for not taking it back. So they're pretty much forced into it anyway. But, you know, in general, most of the camera stores I've bought at have been very helpful. They really, like I said, I haven't had a bad experience purchasing something at a local camera store. I have had bad experience purchasing stuff online. I don't even want to go into it in this video. Avoid online when you can. Now that said, there are great shops all over the country. Murphy's Camera, one of the places I could have bought this at 5 months ago, they usually have them in stock. And if you are looking for a D850 and wherever doesn't have one, your local guys, and you don't want to wait to support your local camera store, Murphy's is a good store. Tempe Camera might have one in. Give them a call. Where else? Well, of course, B&H and Adorama. You know, they're great companies, and if I lived in New York, I'd support them regularly. I'll have links to their stuff in the bottom too, just in case. Of course, you can buy it on Amazon, but I would beg you not to buy it on Amazon, because supporting your local business is highest priority, and then supporting regular business, normal business, not mega corporations, would be my next preference, because it's starting to get harder and harder to find little stores. So the more we support them, the longer they last, the better for the community, especially for photography, where, you know, actually I don't have any film handy, but, well, I don't want to open up one of my film cameras either. But, you know, both of these guys have film in them, and, you know, being able to take it and drop it off when I don't feel like developing it myself, or if I'm needing a special process, that I don't want to buy E6 chemicals if I'm shooting slide film. I don't want to, you know, those are one-offs kind of deal for me. And so if I was going to shoot something with slide, I'd take it down there and have them develop it over processing it myself, unless I really decided I was going to stay with slide as a normal chemistry. Good. I think that's it, guys. The camera is awesome. I mean, there's so many things to talk about on it. I would say go and take a look at Tony and Chelsea's channel. They have a in-depth review of the D850, how to use it, user guide kind of thing. Michael the Maven, his a great one. couple other channels. I think Dustin Abbott might have done a quickie overview of it. You know, the normal guys out there, they all mostly have, you know, the Angry Photographer has a little overview of it. He sometimes rants on a little too much, but, you know, he has some great information if you watch his stuff. You just have to, well, actually YouTube, you need to be able to fast forward. You got to put fast forward in because, you know, like he gets sometimes ranting and you can fast forward a couple of minutes and avoid some of it. Let's see who else. So Angry Photographer, Choni and Chelsea. Matt Granger did a great video on it. So I would suggest going to those channels for an in-depth, like this button, that button type overview. I won't do one of those personally because, well, they've already done it. And while they did, you know, like an initial impressions video, those are the ones that count from opinions, you know. For me saying, yes, you push the OK button right here. Those are boring videos. I will do more videos on the D850, don't worry. But it's going to be about, for instance, using the Tokino lens or the 85 or the 50 or the 50mm 1.2 or maybe even the f2 But whatever it is, the telephotos, whatever it is, there will be more videos about it. It's not going to be how to use the menu. Unless I see there's something I need to teach somebody, or I had to have search for it to find out how to do it, and you know, I can teach you guys. I'll do that, but otherwise, those guys have some great video about the D850. Shout out local guys, Mike Perea. Go check out his channel. There's no affiliation. We haven't met. Steve Huff. Go check out his channel. Another one that I don't know personally, but I watch his stuff. I guess that's all the local guys that are camera related anyway. So, hey guys, see ya. Cut.